Welcome to the Aesthetics Injector Gang podcast. Having a gang of mentors in this industry has been a blessing that we wanted to share with you. Our core group has been traveling together and comparing notes about life and business for years. Tune in as we delve into topics with others in the industry that you are sure to love and make you laugh.
All right. Hi, everybody. We are here today with Morgan Gale and Ashley Carmen to talk a little bit specifically about Aesthetic Multiplier Conference being hosted June 2nd and 3rd at the Pendry in the Wharf, DC. And thanks everybody for joining. So Morgan, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself first and then I'll go?
Sure, absolutely. Yes, thank you, Ashley. Very
You're
exciting.
welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome.
My second podcast on the gang. Yay.
Yay! I love it.
So, for those of you joining us that didn't get a little run through of my intro from the device discussion, my name is Morgan Gale. I am a nurse practitioner. I have 3 locations, 2 in Maryland, 1 in Bethesda, 1 in Annapolis, and then my newest one that just opened in Arlington. I've been in,
We just had the open
I know we
house.
just
It
had
was
our
so
grand
great.
opening on April 11th, so
Mhm.
that was a lot of work.
It was so
But
good.
the short version of me is I've been in aesthetics for about almost 23 years now, since early 2002. I have been through all of the processes of growing and expanding. Started out as like a guy driving lasers around town. Opened my first practice inside of a plastic surgery group in around 2009. Expanded to a second plastic surgery group, and then opened my own practice after getting my nurse practitioner license in 2018. And now I have 3 practices. So there you go. That's the short
Yay!
version.
Did you ever think? Uh, did you
No,
ever
and I
think?
mean,
You're like, nah,
honestly,
this
like,
is not where life is
we've
heading.
known each
Yeah.
other for a little while, but
Yeah.
if you knew me back in like '07, driving a van around with a bunch of lasers in the back, you'd been like, wait, that guy's gonna open up laser centers? Be like, actually, he's pretty good. Like, he
Actually,
could maybe
yeah.
do it. Here I am.
Yeah. And here he is. All right. And for everybody who is new to me, I am Ashley Carmen. You can follow me on Instagram at Botox and Bourbon or Ayana Atelier. It's AIYANAATELIER. And I kind of birthed Ayana as my first child in January of 2021. Opened a second location in Middleburg. Oh, so the first location, I guess I should probably tell y'all where that's at. It's in Old Town Alexandria, Virginia, right outside DC. And the second location is in Middleburg, Virginia, which is beautiful hunt country out in Loudoun County, wine country. For everybody listening who's not familiar with the DMV, it's kind of like going through like the rolling horse hills of Kentucky, and it's very beautiful out there.
It is.
It is, yeah. So that was the second location. That's the second child. And my third child is Ayana Wellness, and that opened May of 2022. So yeah, it's been a little bit of a wild ride in a couple years. And then in January of this year, where are we at now? 2024.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've started aesthetic residency. So it's been a little bit nutty. And then of course, I know it sounds like our life is super calm based on those 2 introductions. So Morgan
Yeah,
and I met and decided to, so we actually met, I think we should probably talk about how we met, but we
we
met
should.
and um, decided randomly, Morgan's like, hey, I have this like wild idea. I think we should. He's like, I want to host a conference and I want it to be different. I was like, yeah, let's do it. I'm down. So if you've never met me or you haven't heard any of the other podcasts, I'm usually pretty quick to decide something. And I'm usually down for about anything. You're like, hey, I want to do this conference. I want to do it in DC. I think it's going to be amazing. Let's shoot for 2025. I was like, let's shoot for 2023. Why
Yeah.
not? So we did the first conference in what was that, like 16 weeks or something?
Basically, well, it's fun. Like, I was thinking to myself as you were saying these things. I was thinking, oh, we should do it like summer 2024, and you were like, how about we do it in 4 months? And I was like, let's do it. I mean, like, how else can we like really figure out the best way that we want to really tell our story and kind of give people what I think both of us felt was lacking in the world of
Yes.
conferences slash symposiums slash summits. I mean, call it whatever you want, but like a gathering of aesthetic
Gathering of
providers.
minds. Yes.
Yes, and we both saw the huge lack of what we felt like this conference was going to be able to provide and said, why are we
Hmm.
going to wait around a year to do it? Like
Yeah.
we've both been in this specialty. Yes,
Specialty,
specialty,
not
not
an
industry. By the
industry.
way, trademarked
Hmm.
by us because that is what we are. We are specialists. Thank you very much.
Yes, you are a
Um,
medical specialist.
so in this specialty, we wanted to basically provide this space for like-minded providers to find ways to kind of grow and expand in the world of aesthetics,
Hmm.
and that begot Aesthetic Multiplier.
Absolutely love it. So Morgan and I actually met to tell our brief little meeting in, was it 2020? 21?
uh
20?
yeah,
No,
it
21.
was
It was 2021. Yeah.
2021. It was 2021 because it was like both of our
Hmm.
respective first like events we had been to since
As
since
like
since COVID.
new business owners and since COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
we met at in Nashville at
yep.
a smaller conference, an
Mm-hmm.
amazing conference. That one was a really great one. But we met, and it was so funny because I felt like I should have known you before because our mutual colleague I ran into at the airport, and I didn't know that she was going to the to this conference. And she's like, "Oh my gosh!" She's like, "Oh, I didn't know you were coming." I was like, "I didn't know you were coming," but I don't think I actually had really posted anything about it.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh my gosh!" She's like, "I'm so excited, Morgan's coming." I'm like, "I don't know who's Morgan. I have no idea who Morgan is." She's like, "You've been in the DC area like 7 years already. Like, how do you not know who Morgan Gale is?" And I was like, "I don't know. Like, just never did. Like, I also don't leave Old Town, and you're all the way over in Rockville, which it might as well be California."
I
Uh,
mean, just for those of you listening to this, just so you understand, our relationship is so strong that I was able to pull her away from Alexandria to see me in Rockville, Maryland for meetings about this conference. That should tell you everything you need to know about our relationship.
yes.
That's power. That's real
Hmm.
power right there.
It truly is. And as a follow-up, I now make him come to me though, because
It's true. It's true. I mean, I
like
can't deny.
I left. I went to Rockville 3 times, and I'm like, okay, now I'm good.
Yeah.
No, Rockville's amazing. I'm just really a terrible homebody. So, well, I love to drive. I just don't like to drive here.
I literally
Um,
only opened an Arlington office so that I had a reason to come
so
down
you
there
could see
more
me.
frequently, and then we could schedule our meetings when I'm already in Arlington. So there you go.
He's like, "What's the easiest way that I don't have to drive to Old Town?" He's like, "I might as well just open an office halfway. I think that
Yeah,
sounds good." He's like, "So go to Arlington."
that's right.
Um, But yeah, so we met. We had a great time. Brandy was there,
Hmm.
the blonde clinician. So she's in Delaware, and she was at the conference as well. And I feel like we had a really good time, and it was kind of like this instant, like, "Hey, join the gang" kind of situation because it was just great. And so yeah, so it's been pretty good. So about this harebrained scheme of yours to start a conference,
Yes,
um,
to start a conference.
to start a
Um,
conference. So let's talk about how it was born.
I mean, I think, well, here it's funny. So when we decided we were going to do this podcast, I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go back and look at our original notes. So I went back to
Hmm.
our original notes, and do you want to know what our original mission statement was? So it was
I think I remember
to
it, but let's read it for everybody.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna read it to you because I mean I think it honestly holds
Hmm.
well, it held up very well, and I think it's still something that we both very much believe in. It is to provide a
Timeless classic.
meeting.
That's how I like.
Thank you. Right, to provide a
Hmm.
meeting that creates an opportunity to exchange ideas and build a community of providers that work together to further each other's careers. That was our literal mission statement, and
I love
not
that.
for nothing, like, I think we should pat ourselves on the back that we put a conference together in 4 months. And honestly, I
Hmm.
felt like we really did achieve that mission statement because we were
I
just
think so
discussing
too.
the other day that several
Hmm.
of the people that attended that conference have honestly grown and expanded their businesses quite
Massive level
successfully,
ups.
I might add.
Massive. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
It's
mean, like,
been
I don't,
amazing to see them grow.
I don't
Mm-hmm.
think we need to take all the credit, but like
Oh
we,
gosh, no. They
we
definitely did all
we
the
gave
work.
them a
Yeah.
place to kind of find a pathway to
Yeah.
getting to that point, and I think that's important to remember for people thinking about like what kind of conference do I want to attend,
Mm-hmm.
and if your questions are all based on what do I do now, ironically,
Mm-hmm.
like all of our agenda topics are literally like I did this, what do I do now?
Yeah.
This is sort of
Yeah. The
like what
rolling
we're
theme of
trying
the
to provide.
conference is like, yeah, like the overarching kind of very quickly became, I'm in aesthetics, now what? And so that
Yeah.
is literally the overarching for this entire 2 day conference. And we, I think we both were kind of like the best parts of every conference that we attend. Yes, the stuff on main stage is great. Yes, the stuff like the lectures are always amazing. The content is always remarkable for the most part.
Hmm.
Um, there's a lot of like new stuff. It helps keep you up to date on what's happening in the specialty and what is, what's coming, what's on the forefront, we're getting those first looks at like new research and things like that. But there's not really any kind of like symposium, meeting, conference, even just like dinners that are regularly offered to sit there and talk about like I kind of found myself in this specialty and I don't know what to do with it. And I think that it gets so murky, and I've talked about this on several podcasts at this point.
Hmm.
It gets so murky because you end up in aesthetics and you're kind of like, holy shit, I'm here. Like, how did that happen? And then you're here and you feel like you are on this island sometimes so alone and so like just like every day you're waking up and you're like, I mean, I think I'm doing all of this wrong. Like everyone's doing all these like big things and everybody seems to be doing so many things. And you're like, should I own my own business? Like, should I work for the med spa down the street? Should I move and relocate and go to a different city that makes more sense for what like I want as a career? Like, do I need a mentor? Do I need to actually be in like a residency program, even though I'm already kind of in aesthetics? Like, I don't know. I took this 2 day course. They told me it was cool to go start Botox. And you're like, no, no,
Yeah,
that's not a
exactly.
good idea. So everybody listening, that's not a great idea. Please don't do that. Find someone to help you. Um, but I think, aesthetics has all of this money in it and it is, it's a cash
Money and
business,
glam.
right? Like
A lot of
money
money
and
and a lot of
glam.
glam.
And so everything looks like it's like just so amazing. And the grit and the hustle behind every single story and every single post and every single provider that you're looking at and saying, like, I want to be that person. Like, it has taken years of blood, sweat, tears, lost friends, like missed communication, missed family things,
Yeah.
like so much missed time away from home to like get to that point. And I think what was amazing about our idea for this, and then actually what happened, because we're going into our second year doing this already.
Mm. Yeah.
I don't know how that happened.
I mean,
Um,
time flies.
Time flies when you're having a good time.
Hmm.
But I think, really gave everybody this kind of opportunity to kind of be like, do I do this? Should I do this?
Hmm.
So the format of our conference is so different, I think, than anything else I've experienced. I think we kind of took like a little bit of like an organized, like round table dinner and made it 2 full days of so much information. But early on, I think we should say this is not the conference to like learn how to be an injector. This
No,
is not the
absolutely.
conference
Yes.
to like,
You,
I want to learn how to do filler. This is not that.
no.
Um, Please
I
don't
mean,
have
we
that
are going to
expectation
do
coming in. Yeah.
exactly. I mean, like even even if you want to look at the fact that, you and I are both going to do
Yes.
like treatments on
We are
stage,
doing
like
full live
to show
injections. Yeah.
people in terms of like a treatment
Hmm.
plan and then what that looks like being done. That is the goal of this, is not for you to show up and say, "Oh my God, I didn't know like you should do, hyperdilate radius here. I didn't know the
Right.
technique for like an under eye treatment should be done this way." This is supposed to be giving you a pathway of, I'm in aesthetics and I need to figure out what my next
Hmm.
move is. You can
And
take that
also like
Botox
best
course.
practices, right? And
Exactly.
the best practices, like, because you're hearing so many different things. Like, oh, dilution should be 1.5, it should be 2.5, it should be 2, it should be, 3.1. What, like,
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah, there's a
whatever is
million
happening on
there's
TikTok and Instagram and
hmm
Patreon and what the person down the street is doing and what, your plastics who hasn't been due, no shade on plastics, guys, I love you. But
right?
like whatever your plastics learned 25 years ago,
hmm
like there are some offices that are still doing it that way. And I'm like, the stuff that we were doing 7 or 8, 9 years ago when I started injecting, I would never do now.
I
Like, like
I remember those
I'm
days.
so glad this is not on video, but oh my God, like
hmm
I think about it sometimes and I still have nightmares. I'm like, I can't believe that everyone ended up okay. But it's such a rapidly progressing field. And so, we're looking at those best practices and saying like, this is kind of like what everyone hears. And how does everybody in this room do it? Like, what have you guys seen to be super
Yeah.
successful? And when you're filling out those forms to apply for attending, we have a space in there that is like, what are the number one questions that you want answered? And you absolutely will walk away with those questions answered. Like, we make sure of it, so that you are getting like your individualized like attention to what you feel like you need. I remember last year somebody actually put in their question, um, I don't think I want to do aesthetics anymore, and I'm using this
I
weekend to
remember
try to
that.
figure it out. Remember that?
hmm
And her business has grown like 500%. Like she looks probably more. She brought on
I
a
mean,
private line
honestly,
skincare. She's expanded. She hired 3 people.
I was going to say we just had a whole
So,
conversation not 3 months
hmm
ago about her bringing in
hmm
some devices. So I mean,
yeah.
again, these are the things like as you go through your progress, your progression of
hmm
expanding in the world of aesthetics, there are going to be questions that you're going to be confronted with in terms of, do I add skincare? Do I add a private skincare line? Do I
hmm
add a device? Do I add two devices? Do I add another provider? Do I add another location?
hmm
I mean,
And how
all of
about this
these.
one? Do I
Yeah.
stop seeing patients
Mhm.
and just do admin?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
am
The
I at a
CEO role
place
is
where I
not
just want to work
right.
on my business? Yeah. hmm
There are people that I am very good friends with who have completely taken themselves
hmm
out of the treatment room, and they are literally the CEO of their, several locations, and they're very happy
hmm
with it. I mean,
And they're
I
so
was
happy.
I
hmm
the last time I spoke with her, she's out in Idaho, and she was telling me how
hmm
she's loved the concept of basically like learning a whole new thing in terms of being the CEO versus
hmm
being the lead provider. Um, and I mean, if you're going to go like 30,000 foot view, big picture exit strategy,
hmm
for all those out there, that's kind of things that you need to do if you're talking selling your business. And I mean, like, again, this is like a
Yeah.
completely separate, but as a business owner, you do have to have that somewhere in your mind. You can't just pretend like that's not a thing. You don't just basically get into any
hmm
business and then assume that you're just going to magically make money forever. At some point, you're not going to be able to work
hmm
anymore, and you need to have the exit strategy. And she's doing that
Yep.
right now, and it's very interesting to listen to her talk about how she has shifted her vision from
hmm
me being the provider, me doing all these things, me learning about all of these aesthetic treatments, to me making sure that my staff has done all of that. And I
Yeah.
am now basically overseeing this growth and development so that when she's ready, she can go in front of some, venture capital or whatever she ends up doing and selling, and they don't have to have her on staff anymore. The business runs itself. She's just literally a figurehead. So,
Yep.
um, but I mean, this kind of like goes into, the goals of what we're trying to set for ourselves as,
hmm
creating this event is we want to give people answers to their questions. I mean, I've never filled out a registration form from any other conference that I've ever attended
No.
in 15 to 20 years about like what questions do I want answered. You just
Yeah.
show
Like,
up
how
and
long have you even been a provider?
yeah, right. you know.
Yeah, and you guys like aren't filling that questionnaire out for fun. Like last year, we had our final like attendee list,
Mhm.
and we on our last meeting went back through and we were like, okay, here's what we're going to do for this person and this person. Like we spend so much time making sure that it's going to be something that is so valuable to you, and because these conferences are expensive, and I
Yeah.
think that what people kind of forget is like venues are expensive, Food is
Hmm.
expensive. Um, Tech is expensive. Like to have, I mean, the microphones. Like I remember when they were like, oh, it's $55 or what was it, like $75 or something for like an extension cord. I was like,
Yes,
what?
we needed an
Oh my God,
extension
can we just
cord.
move the podium closer? I don't want to give you $100 for an extension cord. Like
Yeah,
there's a CVS on the corner. They're $7. I was so annoyed.
I
I
remember.
like I
Yeah.
will never forget that. I like almost I was like, what? Like, oh, forget it. We don't even need it. But it's like all of these things go into that cost. And, the past couple of years, like we've seen a lot of conference prices like really rising because the inflation's just out of control. There's
Yeah.
different mandates for, minimums and food and beverage and everything. So, kind of on that note, our conference is 2 full days, but this year we
Mhm.
are doing a day one and a day two option. So,
Yes.
day one is oh my gosh, we just figured this out. What did we call it? The best practices of aesthetics. And
Yes.
then
Best
day
practice of it
two
is business
is
of
best
aesthetics.
practices of business.
Yes.
So yes, so last year, back to my what I was originally saying, we rewrote three of the lectures on the best practices of
Hmm.
business because like our finance lecture, our legal lecture, and what was it, our business ownership lecture
It was
or
yeah, it was
growing or
like the
something
the
or
business ownership, the building
starting a
of the
location.
business.
I think it was like
Yes.
starting a location. We completely rewrote them the day before,
Hmm.
PowerPoints and everything, because we were like, this isn't meeting the needs of the
Well, yeah,
people
we
that are
had several
coming.
people that
Yeah.
all asked, relatively speaking, somewhat similar questions, and we said, "Why are we doing these other two presentations that no one has even
No one's
bothered
going to
to
take anything away
mention in
from.
a in a
Yeah.
in their registration form?" So yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, to the people that go to other conferences, again, what we feel like separates us is we take what you want to learn into consideration when we make this conference. The agenda is relatively set, but there is a fluidity to it because we want you to feel like if you're going to come sit and listen to us, that you're going to get the answers to the questions that you
Mm-hmm.
had asked in the first place.
Yeah. I think it's really, really, really unique. And it is very like open format too. So we like encourage participation like
Yes.
during the conference. So it's like if something like instantly is like in your brain, like you can write it down, you can raise your hand, you can do whatever. So we do keep it pretty small, which is nice. So I think this year we're capping it. We do still have a few seats left,
I was going to
but we're
say our
capping
registration is
it. I
filling
think,
up a lot. I mean, granted, like last year we had all of 4 months to fill it, but um, we,
yeah,
look, we're kind of coming into, I wouldn't say the home stretch, but June 2nd and 3rd.
yeah. It's like
We're
what, seven
basically,
weeks?
yeah, 7 weeks away, and
Yeah.
we don't have a lot of slots left. So, I mean, I think you and I are both really
Mm-hmm.
excited about how much buzz this has generated over the past few months when we initially rolled out
Mm-hmm.
the registration page back in like December.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the panel on the business day, I think, is going to be really, really, really great this year. We
Yes.
have a few guest people coming, and you'll find out their names later. But
Hmm.
you're going to love all of them. And it really just gives kind of this like we kind of have a pretty good representation on what all of aesthetics can really look like whether it's private practice, whether it's, an NP run private practice where it's just like solo model like mine, whether it's like yours,
Yeah.
where you have like a gazillion people like everywhere. I walk into Morgan's office and I'm like, Morgan, we can't meet here. I'm overstimulated. Like
It's
there's
not
like
no,
30
that's not
people
fair.
there.
It's because the second you walk in there, you're like, are you actually going to be able to sit and talk to me for more than
No,
45 minutes before someone walks in and goes, Morgan, I need you.
no, it's actually 4 minutes. I
It's
mean,
it
it
is
is
four
like,
minutes.
it's
It's true.
insane. The couple of meetings we had out there, I was like, oh my God, do they knock on your door all the time? I can't do this. I'm like,
I need like a do
my
not disturb.
ADHD is like control it. Like it's amazing to get anything done. But yeah, so we have some pretty cool topics this year. Actually, as I'm
Hmm.
sitting here, do you have the agenda pulled up by chance? Were you reading my mind or?
I I mean, I'm good. I'm not quite that good. I have to admit, I was not looking at the actual agenda.
All
Um,
right, well, I have it here. So if you guys are interested, the website is aestheticmultiplier.com. Um, oh, how about let's talk about the food. I'm a girl who loves food. So you're fed a lot, and I tell you what,
and
it
well,
was kind of the
very
best two
well.
days of food that I Usually I go to these things and I'm like, is anyone going to give me like a cracker anywhere? Like,
I was going to say, I feel
no.
like you and I, again, going to the fact that you and I have been to a lot of conferences in varying levels of like
Mm-hmm.
size and number of days, and we both, when we initially met, you know, topic one was we want the agenda and the topic that we cover to be very important.
Yeah.
But we both are, I mean, I don't like to use the term foodie, but I will say that like we both
Yeah.
pride ourselves in, understanding that a nice meal when you're sitting and listening to us
Mm-hmm.
talk would be nice. So that's why we partnered with the Pendry. It's why we love the
Yeah.
menu that we've kind of selected. I mean, it sounds silly, but these are the little things that when you've been to as many conferences as you and I have been to, it's like, yeah, do
Mm-hmm.
I want a, tray of Ritz crackers and Velveeta squares, or
I mean,
maybe something
sometimes
that's
that would be better, honestly.
sometimes.
Sometimes that would be better. I mean, there's been some weekends I'm like in Nashville, I think, no, it wasn't Nashville. Was it Nashville? No. Oh my gosh, I went to a thing in Kansas and that was like,
Oh,
oh, that
yes.
was painful. That
Hmm.
was really painful because I'm also a pescatarian. And so when they don't have like
Oh
any
yeah.
kind of option for like a vegetarian or veggie or even just like a non-pork option, which I'm like, I don't,
In
it's
Kansas, like, oh wait,
like
you don't want pork? I'm sorry.
literally was on everything. I was like, I can't eat any of this. And they're like, no, the potatoes are fine. And I'm like, they're in pork fat. No, they're not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
I'm a
was an
vegetarian, no
interesting
problem. We
week.
have smoked brisket. No, I
Yeah.
don't think you understand what vegetarian
Yeah.
means.
Yeah. They're like, no, but it's brisket. I'm like, do you have like a protein bar?
It's smoked over cherry wood. Isn't that like basically making it a
Yeah.
vegetable?
Yeah. Okay, so we are going to have breakfast. We are going to have welcome and
Hmm.
introductions. We do a fun little bingo game to give away some prizes throughout the
We
two
do.
days. We
Hmm.
talk about perfecting the consult, which is I think that's so hard for people. Um, nobody tells you how to do a consult ever. You're kind of like,
Well,
because it's so different than traditional medicine, right? Like you go into
yes.
your primary care, your consult's like, what's bothering you? What's your chief complaint?
Right.
And they're like,
Yeah.
oh, my like left ear hurts. Like that's it. Like that's not how aesthetics works. And I mean, to some degree, yes, but you have to be there's a little more fluff involved.
There's
Um,
more fluff. I mean, like the thing that you and I always talk about is all of our consultations are generally, I mean, like I feel like we need to trademark this one. They're more conversational than consultational. The
oh,
point of
mine
the
are big
consultation.
conversations. Yeah.
Right.
Hmm.
Like when you have a consultation with a patient, the goal is not get me your diagnosis code ASAP. The goal is
Right.
build a rapport with them. And then during that building of the rapport, all of a sudden you've gotten all the answers to your questions.
Hmm.
Um,
Yes. And you can build that
there's
perfect treatment plan.
aesthetic medicine, I mean, requires isn't I don't think the right word, but you need to be able to
Mm,
build relationships well in order to
yeah.
provide quality care. Because I mean, look, the reality for what we do is we are all elective. Everything that we do,
Yeah. You
everybody
don't
that
have to
comes in
come
our
see
door
me.
has a
Yeah.
choice of whether they want to do it. We are not covered by insurance. And more importantly, like the reality of what we do is that there's a lot of other people that do what we do. So the only thing that
Hmm.
separates us from them is us, right? Is our
Yep.
personalities, is the
Yep.
atmosphere in our office, is the so-called vibe when the patient walks in the
Hmm.
door. Because other than that, you can get tox 100 different ways in a
Hmm.
hundred different places. You can get dermal fillers 100 different ways in 100 different places, but you can't get anything that I do unless you come
Right.
see me. You can't get
Unless
anything
you
that
have
Ashley
me.
does
Yeah.
unless you see her. So that's what
Yep.
makes the point of the consultation so important. It's why we made it. It's not just because it's the first thing you do that we made it the first part of our conference. It's also really the most important part because
Yeah.
the
I mean, we're spending
consultation is
40
the
minutes talking about a consult.
yeah.
Like, we're spending 40 minutes talking to you about how to perfect a consult because, that famous, I forgot who said it. I don't remember who it
Mhm.
was like Florence Night. I don't know who, it was probably Flo. But it was like people, they may not remember what you say to them or what advice you gave or whatever, but they will always remember how you made them feel.
Yes.
And that holds so true. Like there's so many times where I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't remember what they told me, but like I loved that connection with them. Like let me reach back out
Mhm.
to them. So yeah, so we spend a lot of time on consult and then and kind of our tips and tricks that really work. I don't know if you know your number off the top of your head. I have a little bit of that Rain Man mentality. So I have a 97% retention rate with patients, which is like unheard of. I did take out the patients that like move away from here because this is such a
Oh,
transient area.
yeah, that
But for the patients that still live here, yeah, it's 97%. It's crazy. And I'm very grateful for that. I have the best patients ever. If you guys are listening, I love you.
it's true.
Yeah, it's
They
true.
do
Like
love
they're
you.
seriously so good. They are so good.
I
Yeah,
know
we had a couple
firsthand
that came to
because
your open
Ashley
house.
does. I'm sorry. Ashley does send me a couple people for device
Hmm.
treatments because she doesn't do any devices, and they
Hmm.
all come in, and I'm like, "So where are you from?" They go, "Oh my God, Ashley sent me. I love Ashley. She said I should come see you." I was like, "I love her too. Let's do a little laser." And then, I mean, like,
Yeah,
these are the kinds of things that when you have somebody that you love, um, when they refer you somewhere else, they like let the other person know, like, no, this is how much I love Ashley. Yes,
yeah,
I know, I
yeah.
love her too. I
You're like, I
know.
know, I'm not going to take you. You can go back to her. And then what are we doing? We're doing an overview of skincare, best practices in managing complications.
Hmm.
And then we have a break for some more food and yummy bites, some fresh
Yes.
juices. We then are talking about biostimulators, fillers, Hylenex, and rheology with a hands-on rheology portion, which I am, we talk about this all the time, but just very
Hmm.
quickly, Morgan and I both never had a rheology course until we were at an Allergan Medical Institute training for faculty.
I was gonna
Like
say,
you and I were faculty already with
yes, only
AMI, and that was
faculty.
our
Hmm.
first time doing rheology, and that was a couple of years ago. But I think
Yeah.
people are starting to catch on a little bit more about like the importance of doing it. But rheology, like seeing what those fillers are doing outside of the body, is the only way to help. Everybody's like, "Oh, you need a cadaver lab. Need a cadaver lab." Yeah, you do. You absolutely need a cadaver lab, but you also need a rheology lab.
Yes.
Um, and so we are very excited to offer that. And then we have some open Q&A, a
Hmm.
yummy lunch, and then your amazing talk on to device or not to talk because my 2 cents, we'll
Yes.
skip my 2 cents.
That's
So
okay. Listen,
devices are amazing.
this is why we're best
Yeah,
friends,
it is. It
because
is.
you
Yes.
love to talk about skincare, and honestly, like that,
Hmm.
I know
Not your thing. Yeah.
just enough to be dangerous.
Yep.
But I know all the things about devices, and you know
Hmm.
just enough to send everybody to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, I know just enough to send. I stay current on all of it so that I
Yes.
can like get people to the right provider who has the right device that is good for them. But like, so I know what they all do. But then
Hmm.
like if you want me to like turn it on and fire it, I'm like, no, thank you. That is not happening. So then, yeah, they go to other folks. Then we
Exactly.
talk about building the perfect treatment plan because we spent the whole day talking about best practices on everything else. And
Hmm.
then we're doing some assessment, live injections, closing remarks, and then our favorite. Okay, so my favorite thing we always know I love food and drinks, but
Obviously.
at every single meeting, every single conference, everything. My favorite moments are kind of those like water cooler conversations. They're those side conversations that you have like in the bathroom, washing your hands, like when you're standing in line at the buffet to get pork brisket as a vegetarian.
Yeah.
It's like that's always when those like real key takeaway moments happen and when people make those real connections. So we give people a 4 hour cocktail reception where last year we ended up actually rearranging the entire restaurant and sitting in one big circle like it was like
I was gonna
camp.
say,
And
like a
we sat
powwow.
there. Yeah, I was like, this powwow, it was amazing. And we just like kept going around the circle and all like the spouses and every like the supporting people that came, they were like kind of over in the corner. And
Hmm.
then because we were all sitting there talking about work and it was so fun. And so it's a nice time to, get dressed up if you want to. If you don't want to, it's cool too. Come in your jammies. It is it's a really great time though. I think that was a lot of the key takeaways last year was from those conversations.
It
And
is.
people just being able to be really honest, where they're like, the guard's down a little bit. It's in a different setting where you feel
Hmm.
comfortable. I mean, to be very honest, it's also one of the most beautiful views in all of DC ever. So you have skylight views of the entire city. So it's not exactly a trash pit to look at.
I was gonna say it doesn't hurt that the views are also nice for,
Yeah,
for
it's
pictures and things
really
like
good.
that.
Yeah.
But I think that just to kind of circle all the way back to the very beginning, that was like the mission statement, right?
Hmm.
The opportunity to exchange ideas and build a community of providers. I mean, as much as obviously you and I love to sort of impart our knowledge and help people as best we can when we're sort of speaking to them on stage,
Hmm.
the truth is we built our relationship at that sort of networking type event, right? And we
Absolutely. Yeah,
wanted to
at the
be able to
bar. Yeah.
provide
Hmm.
that, yeah, exactly. And we both agreed we want to provide that kind of atmosphere, right? After
Hmm.
like talking about things for 6 or 8 hours, like let's have a nice relaxing place where we can definitely have a good conversation about whatever's on your mind. So, you know, that's just kind of like the full circle of why we created this event, why we end
Yeah.
it the way we end it, so that we can kind of really hammer home the idea of you came here to come see us and learn from us, but also,
Hmm.
be a part of our network, be a part of our group, be a part of, this a multiplier. I mean, we sent you
Hmm.
home with a book about being a multiplier, which by
Yes.
definition is
The swag bag's good.
building a
Yeah.
network of people that you can lean on and count on and be supported by, and they support you. So,
Hmm.
it's that kind of idea that was sort of what birthed Aesthetic Multiplier.
It definitely is. And then I think we let everybody go that night. And then the
Hmm.
next morning we come back in, we have more coffee talk,
Yes.
and breakfast. And then we debunk the social hustle and the social constructs. Um, Last year, I think we focused a lot more on photography and some kind of like social media things. And I think this year that lecture is going to look a little bit different.
Yes,
So
I
I'm
agree.
excited about that one. Yeah, I'm really excited about that one.
Yeah.
And then we're talking about branding and growing, the
Mhm.
art of entrepreneurship. And let's see, and then my favorite lecture, understanding your purchasing power, because it's my little wizardry that I have to offer
I
in this
mean,
world.
P.S. for everyone listening right now, that was one of my favorite parts because I learned some
Yes.
things about
Hmm.
how purchasing power works in terms of purchasing things from these different injectable companies, how to sort of game the system a little bit with buying in bulk in certain quarters to maximize rebates. So there's a lot of
Hmm.
really cool tricks that Ashley has sort of let us know about that I think you guys would
Hmm.
really, really be able to take advantage of.
Yeah, it's a good one. I think we spent a lot of time on that one last year, but people were really into it. So we just kind of like, I think we ended up like tossing out one portion of one of the lectures because we're so far behind on time because
Yeah.
everybody like was really into that talk.
Yeah.
And then we have a little break, and then we talk about HR, outsourcing, and staying sane. And then ending
Work
the
life
day with how
balance.
to scale. Yeah, I mean, have we figured it out yet? I don't know. It's Sunday night, and you're at the beach doing a podcast with me, so I'm not sure if we've really quite figured that one out yet, but
Well, in
working
fairness,
on
I
it.
did have an entire day on the beach, so
It's
technically
true.
work life balance.
And I did take a nap today, and I was late for our podcast,
See?
so maybe there's a little work-life balance. And I spent the last 3 days with friends and family, so.
Yeah.
And Val was here, so from Florida, so it was
There
good.
you see.
And then final remarks and interviews, and yeah, everything. That's kind of our agenda. So I think it's going to be really good. I am really excited about year two, and super excited to see where it's going to go from here.
Same. I am
Yeah.
equally as excited about this second year. I'm excited
Mhm.
about the people that are signing up for this course as we're going through their
Mhm.
forms and kind of seeing what they're interested in hearing and learning
Yeah.
about. So that just kind of like gives me a little extra juice of,
Mhm.
I get to like figure out, well, I really want to discuss this little part about whatever business growth or this little part about
Mhm.
devices or this little part
Yeah.
about, discussing like different fillers and things like so just just getting the statements from the registrants that have already registered and looking
Mhm.
over them has honestly like fueled me a little bit more. I'm sure it has for you as well.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, I actually was just thinking about the registration list so far as you were just saying that.
hmm,
And another gal who attended last year, is actually a co-owner now this year and has really elevated. Yes, she is officially a
Yes,
co-owner now. So
that's
it's
right.
like a really, yeah,
Yeah.
it's been good. I think a lot of people took a lot of good things away from it last year, and it's for us, it's been, kind of like mom and dad getting to see the kids grow because it's like,
Yeah, right.
it's just fun. Like you're like, oh, okay, wait, maybe it did make a little bit of an impact because that's always the
Hmm.
goal.
Exactly. I
Just
couldn't agree
leaving the
more.
world a little bit better than you got it in.
Right?
So yeah, I think that's it. Anything else we need to chat about? I think I heard Gage coming from the beach.
He definitely did just coming from the beach, and he was jiggling the door handle, knocking,
Yeah.
saying, "Dada, are
I'm
you
like,
there?"
ta-da, ta-da.
Um, no, I mean, I think we touched on everything. I was really excited about this podcast because I was looking forward to you and I
Yeah.
kind of, discussing a little bit more about what's to come for this year. Some of the
Hmm.
amazing opportunities that I think people are going to get just to sort of be there and grow their practice, grow themselves as
Hmm.
providers in this specialty. I'm just going to hint back that this is a specialty,
Yes. Especially
um,
not an industry.
not an
Yep.
industry, guys. But in any case, I mean, I always love talking about aesthetics with you. I always love talking about aesthetics in
Hmm.
general, but you and I always seem to vibe really well, and it's why we
Hmm.
why we came together to build this conference. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean that was your original proposition. You were like, I only met you once, but I think we could really do it. You're like, I
Yeah.
really just like it's been like a good vibe from the beginning. So, um, I always needed an older brother. So there you go.
Here. Hi.
And to note, you are actually in fact older. So I'm
I
usually the
mean,
oldest one.
only because it says it on my driver's license is that true.
That is true. Yes. Well, and you've been around lasers for 7,000 years,
I
so
mean,
it's
I
normal.
feel like I am now some kind of like grandfather of lasers at this point. It's.
I mean, you really are. I think that's actually what she told me when I met her at the airport. And she was like, he's like the grandfather of lasers. And I was like, what? That's a thing? So you can yell at her for that.
I will. You know what? I'm both very
That's what
happy
I
that
call
she
her.
said that, and also like, oh boy, that's big shoes to fill.
But yeah, so this was great. So again, the website, if you guys want to register,
Hmm.
is
Multi. Yeah.
aestheticmultiplier.com. I almost gave you
Hmm.
the wrong website. Aestheticmultiplier.com. We are on Instagram under Aesthetic Multiplier as well. So
Yep.
at Aesthetic Multiplier. And then if you need me or have any questions for me, you can DM me at Botox and Bourbon, or you can find me at IanaItalia.com. My email is there. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, if you need me, I am at MG Injector Artistry on Instagram. You can also go to our website, aestheticartistrymd.com or aestheticartistryva.com. That's for the Maryland locations and the Virginia location. My email, mrgale at aestheticartistrymd.com. So yeah, DM me, email me,
Send a
send me
carrier
a carrier
pigeon.
pigeon.
Yeah.
I take all forms.
I'm like, communicate somehow.
Any way you can reach me, do it.
Yeah, yeah, we're very open. So if you guys have questions, please reach out. We have someone who runs the multiplier page actually. So
Yes.
our project manager this year, because we also learned from each other last year that we need to outsource things that we are not good at and things that we do not have time for. And so
Hmm.
we have Alicia this year, and she's amazing.
Yeah, she is.
And she is handling all the things. So if you DM over there, she is readily available to help you as well. So this has been fun. I'm going to let you go back to the beach and enjoy
Yes.
your last night. Do you come home tomorrow?
No, I just got here
Uh,
yesterday. I'm here till Thursday,
oh,
so
oh, I love
like
that.
hey,
Enjoy it so much.
work-life balance.
Working on it, working on it. Well, enjoy the Outer Banks and have the best time. Congratulations on your opening in Arlington,
Thank you.
and I'll see you at our
Thank you
next
for
meeting for
attending the grand
Multiplier.
opening.
You're very welcome. I wouldn't have missed it for anything. So,
Yes. Well,
all
look
right,
forward
it's been
to
fun. Have a
seeing
good day,
all of
guys.
you, yes, at Aesthetic Multiplier. See you
Yeah.
later.
Till next time. Bye, guys.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and comment. Follow us on Instagram at The Aesthetics Injector Gang.